Okay, this is meant to be a quick tour, a walkthrough of the main features of what is going to be Apatosaurus version 2, which is a major from the ground up rewrite of Apatosaurus 1. You can get to the alpha version at alpha.apatosaurus.io. Go there, um, and you can start playing with it right away. There's no sign in required because all data by default is going to be local. That's one of the major new advantages of this. Um, we'll start with transcription. There's a lot I could say and need to say, but let's keep this brief to the features. Here you'll see I have a number of transcriptions available to me, and that's because I've already gone to this IGNTP import tab, and I've imported all of these. You can click select visible and then import selected down here at the bottom. That'll take 5 minutes or so to run. That's pulling in the TEI XML transcriptions of Romans from the IGTP bulk download page. That I've already downloaded those, made these available to you, and that's pulling them onto your computer so that you have this data locally to work with. As an example of what this transcription editor, kind of some of the things that make this transcription editor a little special maybe, let's look at the Sinaiticus transcription. You see that we get the columns laid out the same way they're laid out in the manuscript. It's important to be able to do that, I think. Here we have a correction. So when I hover over it, you get a tooltip that shows you corrector 1 wrote this above the line. If you want to look at the transcription without the editorial markup, you can hide anything and everything. So if I just hide all of the editorial markup, then you see I just have these 4 clean columns of text, and maybe that's nice just for the purpose of reading, but here it is again with all of the markup. The markup includes the verses, the verse boundaries, chapter boundaries, book boundaries, indications of a word being wrapped from the previous line, and paragraphs marked here by a de-indentation of the line to match what is most common in manuscripts. Manuscripts don't indent, they de-dent to mark paragraphs. Okay. We could look at a papyrus quick. The papyrus shows us what supplied text in a lacuna looks like. Uncertain letters with those dots, with those underdots. This transcription editor has what I believe is 100% coverage of the IGNTP subset of the TEI schema. So as part of my test suite, this validates against the IGNTP TEI schema, and it passes so far. Right now I've done this with all of the Romans transcriptions, so we'll expand, include INTF transcriptions, probably hit a few sharp corners, and eventually we will be 100% compatible if we aren't already. Okay, something I want to show off. I have to exit full screen for this. Here I'm going to open up a Minuscule 2400, and I want to show you the image workspace. So this is exciting. Here I've already linked images to this transcription. You can add images from 3 different sources right now. One is from a IIIF manifest URL. That's the nicest way to do it when possible. Otherwise, you can add individual image URLs. So this might work with something like images you have in Dropbox. I don't know off the top of my head if Dropbox lets you share like image URLs. But anywhere that lets you do that, you can this would be one way to put your own images into this. And then you can pull them in from INTF, and I would talk about that in a different video. So you can pull in images from these 3 sources at the same time. So if for some reason one set is incomplete, you can use another set of images to get 100% coverage of your transcription pages. Okay, what makes it really cool is that you can link the pages and the transcription so that they stay together. So for example, if I scroll down to the second page of this transcription and I click into it, you can see it changes the image. And if I scroll down to the third page of this transcription, I click into it, then the image updates. So my image viewer is going to stay in sync with my transcription. And then same if I change images in the image viewer, then my transcription scrolls to where it needs to be. Another feature that you get is it is very easy to add annotations. So if I highlight this line, and if I were to add an annotation, I won't go through the whole thing right now, but if I were to add an annotation, I would draw a box on this image that would add an annotation. Here's what that looks like. Here we've got an annotation here, which is the right now it's just the text, the text of the box. This is all we need to convert the IG and TP transcriptions into HTR training data. We just need to come through in this process, highlight a line, identify where it is on the manuscript, and then we will have really good segmented data for HTR training. So this could be something that is exciting for us. Another really great feature of this is that you can pop out the viewer. So if I click that, this opens up a different window. And so I can snap these and you know, I think the reason you would want to do this is to open up the viewer in a different monitor. If you have 2 different monitors, you can have the image viewer in one monitor. And the cool thing is that they stay linked. So here I'm switching between you know, I'm clicking into different pages in the transcription, and the image viewer is still updating even though it's in a different window. So that's cool. Of course, the way that I prefer this is to go vertical with these, and so that's why I did it. So to make it really easy for you to arrange the windows however you like. That works for the workflow that you have. Then if I close the image viewer window, then it just goes back into the original window, all synced up and ready to go. There's a lot more that could be said, but let's leave it. Let's leave that and go to collations. Here I have 2 collations in process. One is at the alignment stage. One is at the readings stage. Let's look at, well, let's do a new one quick. So to create a collation, you need to already have a project. If we didn't have a project, I could come up here to projects and create one. And a project is a group of transcriptions. So I've checked all of the transcriptions I want to include in this project, which is Romans. So in this case, it's just a bucket for all of the Romans collations, but it could be something else. It could be, doesn't matter. All right, so we have some project level collation settings. These can be overridden in individual collations, but at the project level, here's the defaults we're going to set that can be overridden if necessary. Ignore word breaks. Let's leave this one. This will allow the word break data to get into the collation, but it doesn't affect the alignment. So you can they'll still align the way we need, but maybe it would be helpful to have the word break data in there. I think it might be in some cases to have that right in your digital apparatus where line breaks take place, if a word is split over a line, for example. And then you can create and add any number of regular expressions rules. For example, dealing with nomina sacra and deciding that we're going to regularize all nomina sacra to the full spelling. And right now, collaboration is not enabled at the moment, so we're locked into solo mode. but eventually this will be where you can add other users to be able to work on the same project. I mean, there'll be roles for users, owner and editor. Maybe somebody just has transcription, or somebody just has, somebody's just able to set the stemma, or whatever. So let's make our new collation. It has to be connected to a project. So I'm selecting my Romans project. These are, for convenience, on the left are my project level settings so that they can be changed from here. And now I need to select a verse to collate. So we've done Romans 1:1 and 1:2. So let's do Romans 1:3. And now what it has just done is it's processed through all of the transcriptions and then pulled out all of the witnesses, because as we see right here, some witnesses, some transcriptions have more than one witness. So 621, we have the first-hand witness, and we also have the corrector. So I've called that out with a badge to make it really clear, because it might be the case that you want to exclude correctors. Maybe you only want to do first-hand transcriptions, but let's leave it in. And there's one more choice to make related to correctors. If you choose to include the corrector, then you choose whether to treat it as a full witness. And that means we are going to say that it does have the text of the first hand, and it's only different where we have those explicit corrections. So that would let us collate it as and treat it like a full witness. If we treat it as a fragmentary witness, you can see it update here in this text preview. We treat it like a fragmentary witness, like a piece of papyrus, where the only text that it has is that explicit correction text. And the third setting that this can have is to inherit the default project setting. So we'll just do that. Our default project is treating correctors as fragmentary, and so we'll let this one inherit. That's fine. This one could be the base text. That should be a critical edition, but we'll leave that for now and proceed to alignment. So I want to show you how fast the alignment is. We have over 100 witnesses, and I'm going to click it now, and boom, the collation is ready. So this is the grid view. There are two views of the initial collation. This is just the initial automated collation. This is the grid view, which shows each row is a unique arrangement for that verse. So even though we have over 100 different witnesses in this collation, we only have several dozen rows, and that's because many witnesses are identical. So here at the top we have it says 59 more. So we have all of these witnesses plus 59 more. And if I click on it, it'll show. So here are all of the witnesses. These are all identical. So this row, this reading that we see here, that's the whole verse. So all of these witnesses agree on exactly that. All right, so this is a nice kind of grid view. And from here, I could select columns. Maybe I want to include the article and the noun here in this column and merge these into a single unit for the purpose of identifying variation units. Okay, and maybe I want to do the same here. Maybe I want to combine the article here. Okay, and merge. Okay, the other view on this is the grid view. The other view, I'm calling the variation units view. So this this combines and collapses things into what is reminiscent of a traditional apparatus, where we have the indices, using even numbers, and then using the odd numbers for the in between indices in the base text. A cool thing is that if I want to see this reading D right here in index 8 for out2, if I want to see reading D, I can click on this witness or transcript, this witness label, and it will open up in a new tab. It will open up that transcription and scroll to that verse. And so it doesn't have to scroll because we were doing Romans 1:3. So that's visible right here. We're also viewing regularized. So if we view the original readings, we'll see that there are some sub-readings now. So we have reading A and then a sub-reading A1 and sub-reading A2. This viewing regularized collapses them again. And if we want to change the rules, the regularization rules or other rules related to the collation, we can change those here, and this will override the project setting for just this verse. So we can change those. Something that might be handy for some people to see is that if I click diffs, it highlights the differences. It highlights, so this row right here is different than the one above it. How? Or than the base text. And so it highlights the difference in the base text. So it's, I think that's self-explanatory. Okay. When we're done with it, when we're done with this, we would move on to the readings, where you can change the order of the readings. Say that you would like what is represented here as reading B to be reading C, and you can also turn reading B into a sub-reading. You could turn into a sub-reading of A. That happens automatically when regularizations are applied, but if you need to change the details, change the text of the reading itself, this allows you to fine-tune a collation as needed. So you can change anything about it as needed, and you can just work through all of the variation units. And then the last step would be the stemma, which I won't show right now. It's a bit messy, and that's because something I want to do is I want to allow, for example, I want to allow you to say that reading B may need to be split so that most witnesses to reading B flow from reading A. However, in the case of one witness, you might know for a fact, because you know the manuscript history, that reading B in one manuscript or in one witness actually flows from a reading D, because that it's maybe a copy and one is an exemplar or something like that. So I think that will be helpful to have the kind of that level of nuance. I'm not sure we have any analysis tools yet that will make advantage of it, but we'll build those. We'll build those and talk to other people who build tools to handle things like that too. All right, so that is the really quick run through of the new transcription features, like the frame container page, the image, the full support for viewing images and having them linked together in the same project, and then collations, the collation support so far. There's some more to do with the collation, but I'm really happy with where it is right now. It's very performant, so I'm not worried at all about collating 900 verses at a time from a manuscript or collating longer sections. I think once we start doing commentaries, we may be collating paragraphs at a time, and I think it'll be fine. We have about instant performance right now, and if that slows down a little bit, we'll be just fine. So please send all of the bug reports and feedback. I'm spending 3, 4, 5 hours a week on this, and at this point, I'm mopping up. And cleaning things up. So I appreciate any time that anybody spends to try it out and give me feedback. Thanks.